Cardinals for the Baltimore Colts. Unitas gives to Amici. The Colts are the world champions. Amici scores.
It's amazing, sensational, dramatic, heart-rending, exciting, thrilling finish in the history of college football. California won the big game.
5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
This is Phil Steele.
This is Mike Burnham.
This is Wes Durham.
This is Mike Ashley.
Hi, this is Chuck Foreman, number 44 of the Minnesota Vikings.
Woo, mercy, this is handsome Jimmy Vane, the Boogie Woogie Man.
This is Coach Fry with Virginia Tech Football, and you are listening to Big Dog Sports Talk.
Are you ready to rock? Are you ready to roll? Okay, let's do it.
You're in the Doghouse with Rick Watson on Big Dog Sports Talk, presented by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Join us in the Family Fencing Studios and chime in on the McClellan Chiropractic chat line. He's keeping cool with help from Little River Heating and Air, but this show is straight fire. And now, the big dog, Rick Watson.
It is Labor Day morning, and I hope everybody has a good time off this morning, this day, this entire day. How are you? Did you have a good weekend? Lots of games to be called this weekend down at Radford University, but it's my gig, so I don't complain. We had 6 volleyball games. 4 on Friday, 2 on Saturday, and then soccer yesterday. So 7 broadcasts. So it was busy, but got to see a lot of college football Saturday afternoon. And then, of course, yesterday. And we'll break it all down for you. We'll get your thoughts, and we'll go over it all as we are broadcasting live here on Labor Day from the Family Fencing Studios here in Reiner. Call them up, 540-200-8294. FamilyFencingNRV.com. Hit us up. Got to get your thoughts on Virginia Tech starting the season 0-1. They lose 24-11. Hit us up on the McClellan Chiropractic live chat. Love to hear from you this morning. I know there's going to be a lot of frustrated Tech fans out there, or as many of you already have done as the game went on yesterday, hit me up on the BDST text line at 540-391-0788. The text line never slows down. It is always busy. That's great. As always, please like, subscribe, share all the videos. Watch them all, like them, and tell your friends. Remind them that it's free. Got to have you. Got to get the subscription base up. We did go up by, I'm not great at math, about 63 from the beginning of last week, Monday through Friday. Talking about subscribers, so we just need to keep that going. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you so much. I want to thank the Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment for being the presenting sponsor of this program. Honored to be with them. And thank you so much to Charles and everybody at Little River Heating and Air, 1095 Radford Street in Christiansburg. And we'll have another BDST fan question of the week. Don't know what that's going to look like yet from the attorney Ryan Pry. We'll get to that. And very proud to be brought to you by our exclusive banking partner, National Bank member FDIC. So here on this Monday, we got a lot going on. We would love to hear from you. And without further ado, let's just get right into it. No sugarcoating at this point. Virginia Tech falls 24-11. There were a lot of good things. And let's just get it out of the way. Yes, I picked Virginia Tech. And yes, many people have reminded me already on the Facebook page and on our text line. I don't care. I'm not putting money on it. I'm not betting on it. Just a bad pick. It's a pick that didn't work out. I'll end up around 70%. I think last year I was like 73, 74%. It's okay. But a lot of the things that I thought did happen, I missed the pick. But I'm just saying there were a lot of good things that I saw. And a lot of it had to be, or most of it had to be around Sam Sifkas and his defense. You know, I'm coming back from soccer, and I have it on Roth and Burnham, listening on What If I Point 3 the Bear. It just sounds great, by the way, being back on the Bear. Very happy for my good friend Nathan Sparks that occurred. You know, and I'm listening, I'm going down the road and kickoff, and then what was it? 5-6 plays, they're in the end zone on the 3rd down and long inside the 15. They have the quarterback draw, and you're thinking, really? But then the defense adjusted. No more touchdowns until the play action. Beautiful call at the time. Get it down the field, and getting in behind the defense and making the play was Nick Harbor, who's definitely going to be an NFL star. But the defense adjusted, and I thought the defensive line played extremely well. They rotated guys in. I thought the linebackers were better than I thought. You could tell how much they missed Caleb Whitson early on. But, overall, Lenore Sellers, the South Carolina quarterback, made some plays. But his numbers were kind of pedestrian, but he does have an intangible about him. 12 of 19, 209, and a touchdown. Right? So it wasn't the most overwhelming. Ooh, look at Lenore Sellers. They only ran it for a little over 3 yards per carry. They didn't run the ball very well. The Attaway kid ended up 14 carries, 60 yards. So, again, the defense made adjustments. We did not see that under Chris Marv, and we talked about that in the preview going into it and what we kind of expected. And I don't know about you. I was pretty pleased with that. If you're a Tech fan, you have to be pleased with that, I think. Without question. But then you go to the other side of the ball. And I don't really at this point know what other conclusion to make. And if you think I'm wrong, that's fine. We disagree. I'm not sure Kyron Drones is a very good college football quarterback. I think he's got an immense amount of athleticism. He's not accurate throwing the football. He never really has been. And I think that's a major problem going forward. And I know a lot of people were sending messages on the text line about, how pedestrian the offense looked, how vanilla that it looked. I got a lot of pictures of cartons of vanilla ice cream. But you know what that tells me? It tells me that you might just have a new coordinator who doesn't have a lot of confidence that he has the right guy to run his offense. 15 of 35. And you're playing from behind, and you do have to throw the ball in the second half more. But 15 of 35, a couple of really bad interceptions. And I know the receivers had some drops, and many of you pointed that out incorrectly. There were some drops, but there were also some just bad throws. He missed Hawkins out of the backfield on the little wheel route. Great play call by Montgomery. It would have gained a lot of yards, and I think it would have gathered in momentum. He threw it too low. Running back has to reach back. He drops it. He's not going to catch that football 9 out of 10 times because he's already thinking about running his route and going up the field. I thought the Greens were good. I thought Davion and Aiden Green looked strong, 8 catches between them. Aiden Green looks like he's going to be a big-time player for Tech in the offense. But, this is a team that did not score a touchdown. Last time I touchdowns to win. And they didn't do it. Had a safety. A safety and 3 field goals isn't going to do it. So now, even though it's only one game in, it kind of feels like, and I know it sounds silly, doesn't it kind of feel like the season is on the brink this coming Saturday night? A little bit against Vanderbilt. You had the punt return that broke the back a little bit. You had a tight football game, 10-8. Tech had the punt, flag was thrown, and then you find out in the post-game press conference, Brent Price says that flag was thrown because they didn't have a gunner at the line of scrimmage. So they re-kick it. Maybe you relax a little bit. Maybe you're out of position, and then the kid breaks it, this unbelievable run for, 80 yards. And at that point, even though it wasn't over, it kind of felt like at that point it was over. They're just one of those mistakes in year 4 that really should not be happening. That really should not be happening. That seems to me to be one of those things that you just can't have happen. Special teams coach got a big raise, as did most of the coaches during the offseason. And I don't know how that's your position, and that's something you've got to account for. I don't know how that happens. Year 4, that shouldn't be happening. But 24-11, disappointing all the way around. Wasn't a one-score loss, but nonetheless another big loss in an opening game for Brent Pry. And Kyron Drones has to be better. And I know that sounds like common sense, but we're talking about the last go-through for him. You know, we were told last year it was all about injuries. We were told that, you know, his mindset wasn't right. Whose fault is that? And he did have injuries. He was out of shape. He was always put into the line of fire. Now you look at the difference. He did carry it 12 times yesterday. But it wasn't the same type. A lot of it was just he had to go. Marcellus Hawkins, 15 for 58. Tech's got to run it better than 3 yards per carry. You're not going to win football games that way. And I think it's pretty clear that Marcellus Hawkins is going to be the workhorse. And I think he can develop into a pretty good player. But I'm telling you this. The one thing I said that was you were going to try to have to account for was Bashal Tootin no longer being in that backfield. And I don't think they have anybody remotely as talented as that guy to be a game breaker. It's great to see Radford's P.J. Prelo back out there after his injury. That was awesome. David says, heck of a call by Beamer to make Tech punt again. I think most coaches would punt again because they had bad field position. I think it was kind of a no-brainer, to be honest. I mean, I know he's getting a lot of praise for that, but as soon as it happened, I said, well, they're just going to kick it again now, right? He wasn't happy where they caught the ball, wherever it was down. It was, inside the 20, right? I think he was going to – I think anybody would have, to be honest, would have made him re-kick it, especially when you hang your hat on special teams. I mean, Beamer was a special teams coach for a lot of his stops along the way. So you want to try to create something, and it worked out. It worked out. But, yeah, the other point you make, David, does Brent Pry make that same call? I don't know. That's a great point. Hit us up in the McClellan Chiropractic chat room. Want to get your thoughts also on the text line. Jermaine Ferrell joins us coming up at 7 o'clock. We'll get a review of the high school and college football weekend as he saw it. Terrific game, EC Glass in Salem. And Jeremy Haymore, who has written a book about Giles football, 1980 team. He will join us at 7:30. So we're looking forward to that. Alaska County loses again. Gave up 49 points at Northside. Christiansburg got manhandled pretty good. Blacksburg beat up on Giles. Radford's defense looks like it's the real deal against George Witt. Auburn was a great night from what I understand. I got a lot of pictures. A lot of folks, thank you so much. A lot of people were sending me stuff that were at the game. They got beat pretty handily by James River, but it was just about community. It felt good to see all that. And everybody said it was loud and everybody's having a great time. That's awesome. It was awesome. So, yeah, that's our two guests today. And you. It's me and you and Jermaine and Jeremy. It's us here today. But I was at that 1980 title game with my dad. We had a farm in Parisburg. And I was at that game. And it was awesome. A lot of fun. A lot of fun. Remember it like it was yesterday. But we'll talk about the Bandana Express with Jeremy. But let me hear your thoughts. Defense looked good. Special teams boot, yeah. And then Kyron Drones. I think if I'm a Tech coach, I'm concerned about the quarterback Because all we've heard this year is that he understands he had a terrible mindset. He was very arrogant. These is his words, or what's been relayed to me as his words. He's in better shape. That's the one thing that did stand out. Didn't the players look better physically? They did. To me, they did. Jarrett Ferguson is paying off. You can see it in the weight room. But I don't know how you can still be playing the way that Drones is playing, and then all of a sudden you're going to find it in your last year. He hasn't found it yet. There's been moments when he first, came onto the field a couple of years ago. There was a moment against Miami last year. But I saw a lot of inaccurate things, and I didn't see a stressed out South Carolina defense because of the quarterback who does have the capability to run. You didn't feel the same type of constant urgency that Tech had facing Sellers. And I don't think Lenore Sellers is this dynamic quarterback pro prospect. I think he's a terrific athlete. And once he makes a decision to run, he's very tough to bring down. I mean, they kept showing over and over again that one run. It was a great run when guys were trying to tackle him high. And he's a huge guy. And now, what that is bad fundamentals. Tech still had tackling problems. They couldn't tackle last year. And they were having trouble tackling yesterday. But I know it was a good run, but you have guys that are trying to grab his shoulder pads and bring him down. You learn that in high school. You learn that in middle school. Pee-wee ball. And they were oohing and ahhing over and breaking arms. This is bad technique. But yeah, I mean, he's athletic. Play action call was brilliant. He did lay that pass out there, but he was really struggling for most of the game. That's why I said Coach Siefka's, you don't give a game ball during a loss, but they really adjusted the defense. They made it tough on him, and they made it tough on them to run. That's why the game was, 10-8 late in the third quarter. It was there for the taking. The game was right there, but Tech could not make a play, and then they made the huge mistake of the penalty on special team. And South Carolina made them pay. But it was there, and I think there's frustration that's there today because it was, and I kept saying last week, I kept proposing to our panel, what would a good loss look like? How would you feel about if it looked the part, yet they came away with the L? They came away with the L. Did they look the part in your mind? I would love to hear from you. They looked the part defensively to me. I thought the offensive line was okay. But offensively, and I know people are going to say, new coordinator, same old thing. Well, who's been the constant? Is it Coach Montgomery, who's got just this unbelievable resume of offensive success everywhere he's been? Or is it because he looks down and realizes that he's got the same quarterback that struggled so badly last year with a different coordinator? Drone said you can't shoot yourselves in the foot against a good opponent like that. We've got to be better. I did hear a lot of that. I heard a lot of Tech players and coaches not really giving South Carolina credit, but saying it was all on them. And I don't really like that. Some of it was, but South Carolina made some plays too. But I had a lot of people. I'm just going to answer them now. Let me look here. Had about 10 text messages as the day went on yesterday on our text line. Please hit us up on the text line. Saying, hey, do you think that we should go ahead, we being Tech, you think Tech should go ahead and put Pop Watson in? All I've been told is that Pop Watson has regressed. We heard it from Mike Burnett, Bill Roth. What did they each say? Tech has to have Kyron Drones stay upright this year. And yet that yesterday is what we got. So what you're going to have going forward, and I don't know how it's going to look. And I had these questions too. And this isn't me trying to get out of answering the question. Asking about quarterback recruiting going forward. I don't think you can plan on that right now because if this season doesn't recover, the head coach won't be there. And I don't know what that will mean for the coordinators. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think you can start to think about these things going forward just yet. Now, Tech has an opportunity to reel off some games here if they get by Vanderbilt on a Saturday night at Lane Stadium. Didn't have the gunner at the line of scrimmage, had to re-kick it. That sounds like, we had two guys on the field with the same number. At least that didn't happen. Brent Price said disappointed in the outcome, and there's no pats on the back. Too many self-inflicted errors. Untimely penalties, yes. Drop balls at the right time. Not good in the red zone. But, I wouldn't have minded to hear the quarterback saying, our quarterback has to be better. He put it all on the receivers. I thought the receivers made some dynamic plays. And anytime you saw the receivers, like they had Aiden Green, had a great couple play calls, that little crossing route's going to be a problem for opponents. But when you're throwing the ball and you're reaching down like that, you have your hands down and it's tough to try to – passes were not accurate. It wasn't all on drop balls. How many times did we see those guys have to adjust to make great catches? Both Greens made really good catches. 15 of 35, 43%. It's the worst mark for Kyron Drones in 22 games as a starter. It's his fourth time below 50%. 4 games for Drones under 50% completion percentage. That's not good. Now he's making $1.5 million. At some point, improvement needs to be had. Can it be had? Certainly it can. But it's Brent Pry's third opening week loss in 4 years as the Virginia Tech head football coach. And I know a lot of you, to your credit, were very pessimistic and told me I was nuts for picking them. And you turned out to be right. Like Arthur Fonzarelli in the old Happy Days episodes when he couldn't admit he was wrong. I was rude. Well, I was rude about Tech winning. But it was there. It was there. And you can say woulda, shoulda, coulda. But they, beyond Drone's play, they didn't run the ball well enough. They didn't put enough pressure on the secondary and the linebackers. They didn't. I mean, they didn't run the ball well. Neither team ran the ball well. Really liked what I saw from Sifkas's defense, the adjustments they made. Opening drive notwithstanding. Whew, that was terrible. It was terrible. But then they fixed it. Offense never fixed it. Now, there were some good play calls, I thought. And I think that was something that was pointed out in the broadcast. There were some good play calls that were made throughout, but they didn't execute. So, kind of leaves you with that empty feeling. Hokey Bob, the old eggs in one basket issue. Yeah, no doubt, David. You keep throwing the ball like that, guys are going to get clobbered, man. They're free game out there once the ball. They make an effort to catch the ball. But it's interesting. We seem to have two sides of reaction that I've received. I don't know what it's like. I hadn't been able to check out Will's message board on the Tech sideline. But people are putting it on Drones, which I'm kind of leading in that camp. And a lot of people are putting it on he couldn't play the type of offense that he needs to play. Well, what is that? Somebody explain that to me. I mean, when Tyler Bowen was there, the most effective plays that he had was when he was able to run the ball a little bit with him, get him out on the edge. But I think Bill Montgomery's still figuring that out. And by the way, how many times who was that? Who was the analyst yesterday? Kept calling Montgomery Cunningham. Glad those guys at ESPN/ABC doing their research. Cunningham? It's like 4 or 5 times they called him Coach Cunningham. But he's trying to figure it out with the quarterback that he has. I mean, his different ways to move the football at the collegiate level haven't changed. He's adjusted. He knows how to coach offense. In other words, what I'm saying is everybody's in a panic. Oh, same old story offensively. Who's the same quarterback? I think you're going to see the offense end up figuring out how to run the ball. You have to take that pressure off of Drones at this point because he can't beat you. He's not a guy that's going to sit back and just, you have to say, oh, our quarterback. Lenore Sellers, despite the fact that I don't think he's as dynamic as people believe, found a way to make plays to beat you. Kyron Drones has not consistently done that throughout his career. Does he have the tools to do it? Certainly. He's big, he's strong, he's fast, he has an arm. He's just very inaccurate throwing the ball, and he makes bad decisions. The rollout and the pick in the end zone, you're just sitting there and you immediately just you got to throw that ball away. You're already out of the pocket. You got to save at least 3 points there. It could have made a big difference in a game like that when it was 10-8. And then the other one was just an overthrow, another bad throw. I don't think there was even a receiver in the neighborhood of that throw. But now you have to regroup. Now you have to go out and you have to put some things together. I'm getting a lot of people asking me about the point spread. Let me look here and see. I do not know. I have not looked that far ahead to see where it might be. Week 2. Let me get into the ACC. It may not be out yet. I don't think it's out yet. I mean, it could be. Yeah, I don't think they've released that yet. Yeah, it's not. I think that'll come out later today, maybe tomorrow. But yeah, the spread is not out yet against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt won their opening game. Didn't have a lot of competition, but we'll get into that as the week goes on. But your thoughts, disappointment to say the least. Tech had a shot. They didn't look overwhelmed. Text message, do you feel Shane Beamer wanted this game special? Yeah, it was. Yeah. Oh, and he is 100% over dramatic at times. I think the camera was fairly annoying trying to catch his reaction to everything. Like the whole thing when he went over to the sideline reporter. And it wasn't a very warm handshake at the end between he and Pry. But, yeah, there's no doubt. There's no doubt that this had a little special meaning to him. Yeah, no doubt. But it also had a meaning to him because they're expected to be a front runner. I don't know how they're going to do. I didn't come away from this game thinking, yeah, boy, South Carolina really deserved that number 13 ranking. I don't feel that way about them. They're not a bad team. They're a good team. They're very talented. They've spent their NIL money well. They have athletes all over the field defensively. Defensive line was okay, but I thought Tech's offensive line was good enough. Now people are going to look at the rushing numbers and, yeah, okay, wasn't there yet. Hawkins not used to being that guy yet. We'll see how that adjusts. But again, he had 37 carries and 27 of them were Hawkins and Drones. You've got Coney and Prelo. There's just not a lot of depth there. I think what you saw was the difference in depth. You know, South Carolina didn't run the ball either, but Attaway and Faison were both guys who felt like they could be game breakers. I don't think Hawkins is really a game breaker. I think he's kind of a physical guy. He can run and he can make people miss, which he did. But all I know is Lenore Sellers completed 3 less passes than Kyron Drones. Of course, they only threw it 19 times. So Tech had the ball more plays in the game, which is a good sign. Didn't fumble, no fumbles. David says, did you see the report? I'd go over and talk to her too. Well, he is a married man. He had his kid out there on the sideline at the end of the game. So, but we'll see how South Carolina does in that conference. We'll see. Did they look like a top 15 team to you? And Tech was right there 10-8. You know, the 10-8 game going into the fourth quarter. 10-8. And then you had the mistake on special teams, the punt return, boom. But then Tech gets it down and kicks it. It's 17-11. I had people sending, hey, 18-17, we'll take it. And then the beautiful call, the play action pass, and, Harbor got behind the secondary, and boom, lights out at that point. But hit us up on the McClellan chat room or hit us up on the text line. Family Fencing Studios, 54200-8294. Give them a call here on this Labor Day. Hope everybody has a good Labor Day, wherever you might be. The ACC as a whole, tonight it finishes up, by the way, with North Carolina, Bill Belichick. I am curious to see how all this is going to look with Belichick in the Hills against TCU, who is favored in the game. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to watch. Clemson. Phil Steele came on this program and said Clemson's going to the national championship. Well, they lose at home 17-10, and they get shut out in the second half by Bayou Bengal. So maybe Brian Kelly was right. Clemson is Death Valley light. It's a bad loss for Clemson at home, not because of the competition. LSU's really good. But if you're going to be a national title contender, you got to win that football game. I didn't think Cade Klubnik was very good at all. Did not make plays when they needed it. Florida State, huge win. Alabama. Hey, Bama fan. Kalen DeBoer ain't it. It's just something that hadn't felt right. And I knew whoever took over for Nick Saban. It's like what happened so many years ago when John Wooden left UCLA. Nobody ever wanted the guy to be next, even though they would have success. DeBoer's going to have success, but he's not going to have Nick Saban's success. That is not a national championship contending program in any way, shape, or form. And Thomas Castellanos was terrific throwing and running. And I know that, had people on, they weren't very excited about Castellanos, but boy, he looked like he fit into what Florida State wanted to do. They went big on their coordinator hire, hiring a former head coach, and it looked really good for Florida State. They needed that. ACC needed that, especially after what happened with Clemson. But I think Alabama fan who thinks they're going to go out and, be in the national championship game every year is going to have to realize that I'm not sure Kalen DeBoer is him. That team, to me, doesn't look motivated to play for him. And that's one thing you got out of Nick Saban's teams all the time. Not only were they great, not only did he recruit and have these huge advantages before the NIL really kicked in, or at least the legal NIL really kicked in. That's why Saban got out. But that's a big win for FSU. Tennessee crushed Syracuse 45-26. The Qs couldn't defend anybody. I'm not going to go over some of the games against non-Division ones because they should have won all those games. Virginia put up 48 against Coastal. Didn't expect it to be that big a blowout. Our sponsor of the BDST Fan Question of the Week, Attorney Ryan Price, said it would be a blowout. He sent that. I read it on Thursday or Friday. He was right. UVA had 28 points at halftime, and Cal beat Oregon State 34-15. Miami last night, and just an enormous win. I mean, you can't even begin to overstate how badly Miami needed that win. And I got to be honest, I was pretty impressed with Carson Beck. Takes a lot of heat. I know he's a very arrogant guy. He's making what? upwards of $5 million. He had all the girlfriend issues and all that. Mario Cristobal needed that. He had all those folks back. Jimmy Johnson did the pregame ceremony. All those former players. I'm not going to proclaim that the U is back, but that's a big win. Beck was 20 of 31, a couple touchdowns, not dynamic yardage, but he didn't make any mistakes. Miami's defense looked good. C.J. Carr, the young quarterback for Notre Dame, threw a pick. He looked okay. Now, Notre Dame, people are going to say, oh, Notre Dame's out of it. No, not by chance. They only play one more ranked team, and that's Texas A&M. And if Notre Dame wins those games, they'll be right back in the playoff. But that's huge for Miami. Just an enormous win. Frankie, congratulations. I know you've been waiting. We'll see. We'll see what it means for Miami. They got off to a good start last year. Had a little help. Controversy followed them. They had Cam Ward, the number 1 pick. They get their neighbor down there in Miami. They got Bethune-Cookman, which will be an easy dub. South Florida won't be easy. Then you get into Florida, and, the ACC slate, that game at Florida State might shape up to feel like one of the old games, right? Bobby Bowden, Jimmy Johnson type of game. So we'll see about Miami. Too early to proclaim anybody back. Too early to proclaim anybody really anything. Because I don't know did we see a team that was far and away better than anybody else? Texas goes to the Horseshoe. I talked about it when I picked it. I just did not believe that Texas deserved all the love. I think a lot of it was the whole Arch Manning hype. And he looked, to me, very bad. I mean, I don't know what you thought, but I did not think he looked very good. And maybe it was the first game, I don't know. But Ohio State and the Horseshoe is very difficult to win. Very difficult. Can Texas come back to the SEC? I don't know. Penn State crushes Nevada. Okay. Georgia beats up on Marshall. There were a handful of good games, but really there wasn't a great slate overall in the top 25. Michigan, they didn't really get away from New Mexico. He ended up winning 34-17. Kansas State struggled at home against North Dakota after they lost in Ireland. That's not good. Texas A&M, the only other ranked team Notre Dame plays going forward, gave up 24 to Texas San Antonio in College Station. Old Dominion hung in there at Indiana. They lost 27-14. That's a future Tech opponent. They were ahead early in that game. I mean, Ole Miss beat Georgia State. Iowa State had South Dakota. Texas Tech played Arkansas Pine Bluff. I mean, it wasn't as great of a week as you thought it may have been on paper. We're, like I said, the few standout games. I mean, Ohio State-Texas game was a defensive battle, 14-7. There weren't really any great games. I think the most entertaining game was probably Florida State, to be honest with you. They played well. I know, and Miami was pretty good last night. Man, it was kind of fun to watch. That was a close game. But I was impressed with Carson Beck last night. Notre Dame rallied. Notre Dame scored 24 points. They got 17 of those in the fourth quarter. Miami had to kick a field goal about a minute to go to win it. David says in the chat room, Peyton and Eli need to get Arch in the backyard. Yeah. First impressions, right? Doesn't it feel like he's just a guy? He's got all the money in the world. He's got all this hype. He's got the name. He's going to continue to get the benefit of the doubt because of all that stuff. So we'll see. Frankie, did you see? You're a big Miami guy. I was looking for a little while last night. Did you see any? He says, I agree, by the way, Frankie, big dog. He's a big Canes fan, always has been. But I'm happy to get a win versus the Catholics. I'm just happy. Speaking of the Catholics, did we see any Convicts versus Catholic shirts? I was looking for a little while. When they would go through the crowd, I kept trying to see, because I think they missed out on a big marketing tool if they did not. Jim says 3 or 4 plays, mistakes, pushed momentum back to South Carolina when Tech had it. Absolutely. I mean, it was right there. My pick was looking strong for a while. Defense was improved. Kyron Drones is not. He's just not. I think we know who he is now. And people are going to say, hey, you're throwing it off the quarterback. Yeah, it's the most important position on the field. He's making $1.5 million. This isn't like some high school sophomore or a kid out of high school who's a sophomore starting for the first time, where you don't analyze things the way you used to in college football. Sorry, these are pros now. And he commanded a pretty big sum to stay in Blacksburg. And you got to be better than completing 43% of your passes and making the kind of decisions that he did yesterday. And Tech should not be shooting themselves in the foot this frequently in year 4 for Brent Pry. It's not a good look to get on there and say the same thing that we've heard. Oh, they had to kick again because we didn't have a gunner at the line of scrimmage. What? Special teams coach makes over $500 million. Can't have that happen, man. That can't be happening. It did, but it can't. Still plenty of time and a schedule that's very conducive for success for Virginia Tech going forward. Now, this is going to sting to the point to where you won't feel as good about the upcoming potential for wins as you may have. Vanderbilt, I know it's week 2. Tell me if I'm speaking out of turn. And I'm not trying to be dramatic. I'm asking you. But doesn't it kind of feel like the season's on the brink in that game, even though you're going to beat Old Dominion? You're going to – again, I get the quarterback 2 quarters against Wofford. Looking forward to it. And then it starts over again at NC State. So Vanderbilt, it's another SEC game. I know it's Vanderbilt. They've got that quarterback, though, Diego Pavia. It feels like to me it's a game that it's a must-win game. It seems like it's direly important when maybe it shouldn't feel like it is. That's how different it feels to win a game against South Carolina and then to lose it like they did yesterday. Frankie said he had his Catholic versus Convict shirt on. There you go. There's my guy. Love it. A few of my friends who went to the game had theirs on. 66,000 last night at the stadium. Yeah, it sounded good. It sounded really loud. It was good. David says LSU dodged a bullet when he reached out to drones. Yeah. You may not be lying. Richard says every game's a must-win. Yeah, it feels like this is the swing game in the whole season, and it's only week 2. It's not like the NFL where you have 17 games. I mean, this is a 12-game schedule, and that's why football is so dramatic week in and week out, because it means so much more because you play such few games. They got to have it. But, yeah, to your point, I think LSU did well. Nussmeier kids, they're probably happy with that, the way that turned out. But very encouraged with the defense after the opening drive. I mean, the play action was just, Tech was cheating at the line of scrimmage, trying to get a stop. You release Harbor, the best athlete on the field. You got to step in behind the safeties. Pass was thrown very well. Good call, good execution. It was a play that was well conceived by the Gamecocks. but Tech never could run it, and Drones couldn't make any throws down the field. But the defense held toe-to-toe, kept them right in that game for 3 quarters. So 1 out of 2 is better than neither new coordinator looking like they were going to have an effect. And we'll see. It's going to be an interesting week this week in Blacksburg as they get ready for the home opener. You know, Vanderbilt comes in with a lot of – they seem to have a lot of bravado. You know, they have a lot of I think in that league, given who they are and all the rumors that they might be asked to leave at some point, a lot of, if you will, the short man's disease. They got a little chip on their shoulder. They're like Robert Conrad back in the day, used to put the Duracell battery on his shoulder. You may remember the show Bob Black Sheep with Robert Conrad? I'm sure you know. But they played Charleston Southern Big South. They won 45-3. Pavia was really good, 20-25, 275, 3 touchdowns. They ran for over 200 yards, but it's Charleston Southern. They haven't been tested. They're going to be tested and then some. So they're 1-0, but I don't care about the numbers they put up against Charleston Southern. But we'll see. I do care about the numbers Pavia put up against Tech last year. But this game's at night, and Vanderbilt's not used to playing in any kind of environment that way this early in the season. Usually they get those games later in the season in the SEC. They play some night games against raucous crowds and environments. There's a lot of raucous nighttime environments in the SEC. But early in the season, you don't see them play these kind of games very often. So we'll see. We'll see. But there's going to be a lot of that this week. Looking forward to talking to Mike Burnett tomorrow. But, you know, Tech's got to clean up some things. Let me see here. One thing I wanted to look. I did not see the total penalties and so forth. That was the one thing I wanted to look up. Because Brent probably referenced the penalties in the game here. Let me see here. What was the outcome with penalties against South Carolina? All right, here we go. 8 for 51 for South Carolina. Tech only had 4 penalties. That's what I thought. So, too many penalties. You had 4. You had the chop block call, which I'm not sure was a chop block. South Carolina had 8. Penalties, a couple penalties at the wrong time, but you had half as many as your opponent. I don't think you should come out talking about penalties as being one of the factors. It wasn't. Chop block brought back a play, didn't like it. They had the 5-yard penalty that swung the game, but for the most part, they were pretty disciplined for a first game. But Fred Johnson was all over the field for them. Quentin Reddish played well for Virginia Tech. Shows you how badly they need Caleb Woodson. He had 6 tackles. I thought the defensive line was really good. That was something I was looking for. Those guys looked good. I thought the linebackers were flying all over the place. So there were some good things I saw defensively. No good, though. No good on the first try. So we'll see what happens in game 2 against Vanderbilt. Tech will be favored. I've had some people say, will Tech even be favored? Yes, Tech will probably be very heavily favored. I wouldn't be surprised to see Tech be double-digit favorites in that game. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. Yeah, and Reggie, you know what? Yeah, I mean, I know. I think so. The great book But the late John Feinstein, A Season on the Brink, that he wrote about Bobby Knight and the Indiana basketball program years ago. Still one of the best sports books I've ever read. It feels like a season's on the brink Saturday night and maybe a coaching career. I know that sounds silly. But all of a sudden, if you lose a home game on top of it to Vanderbilt, who I know had a good year, I know they have a dynamic quarterback. Do you lose the fans at that point? Tech fan, tell me. You've always been supportive. But if you start out 0-2, and let's say it's a close game, which, if Vanderbilt's going to win, it's going to have to be a close fourth quarter. I don't see them like going out and jumping on Tech for two touchdown lead or anything like that. If you lose that game and it's another one-score game, and all of a sudden people are talking about being 0-2, and all of a sudden people are talking about how Brent Pry can't win a one-score game again on top of losing South Carolina, where does that put the fan base? And I'm asking questions because you're asking questions. I don't know the answer to that. If you win, I think people will go, okay, you're going to win the next two. Should be 3-1 after that. Heading into NC State. Then you've got Wake after that, who looks really bad. Wake really struggled, got outplayed. They beat Kennesaw State 10-9 at home. Wake's might be the worst team in the ACC. Them or Stanford. So you got a chance to recover pretty well, to be honest, if you win that game on Saturday. That's why I think it's the trigger game, just looking at the schedule after that. You go 0-2, I don't think it really matters what happened. You're going to beat Wofford and Old Dominion, be 2-2, and yeah, okay. Then that NC State becomes even larger because it's, conference game. But we'll see. We'll see. These are questions I'll ask Jermaine Ferrell when he joins us a little bit later on. So it's always good to wrap up week one, college football. David says they lose to Vandy, you'll be able to get 2 to 4 or 6 game tickets at Tech real cheap. We're going to have, by the way, courtesy of Louise Baker, we're giving away a pair of tickets for the Vanderbilt game. We're going to have a trivia question. Louise is going to provide that, her generosity here, even on the new YouTube show. And what you'll do to get it when you win them is go by and see Louise and hang out with her. Hit us up on the text line, 540-391-0788. Jeremy Haymore, 7:30. Talk about his book. I have not had a chance to read it yet. I definitely want to. Because like I said, I was there. At that game with my dad and my brother, the Bandana Express, the 1980 Giles team. And we just had Coach Ragsdale and Marty on last week. That was the team Coach Ragsdale said was his best team. Marty tried to push for the 93 team, did not get that accomplished. Also, what'd you think, those of you who were at the high school games of your choice? Our BDST fan question of the week will come later, thanks to Ryan Pry, 701 West Main Street in Radford. Haven't quite decided on what it's going to be. It might be something simplified here. It might be a simple yes or no. It might just be revolving around the Tech Vanderbilt game. Charles Lee, Little River Heating and Air. Now you have to start to think about heating. I got up, it was 49 degrees this morning as I walked outside. It's brisk. Best experience I ever had with anyone like that, taking care of your units. You're not going to lose. Go see them. Tell them we talked about it. Go see them. Don't. They're going to give you a great price. You're going to save money. Telling you. It's stressful as hell. You got to spend money. Oh, my goodness, your unit's shot or it needs to be replaced, and you're just immediately panicked. Mine got struck by lightning. They were destroyed. I was in a frenzy. They came up, worked out the insurance part. They had it fixed in 2 days, and that's who you should be with if you're going to go out and get it. Can't tell you how honored I am to be presented by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment, Jonathan Sweet, and we're going to start talking to folks here, I think this week or next week, from up there about what they're doing. National Bank, member FDIC, the exclusive banking partner of this show, thanks to Larry Ramsey. I've done my banking there for over 30 years. They've helped me in every step along the way. Anytime I have a question or comment, great customer service. You're always greeted with a smile. Banking can be stressful. They take all that away. Thanks to Mark Hundley, McClellan Chiropractic, for taking care of our chat room. Went over and visited, man. The technology today is amazing, just absolutely amazing. Thanks, Mark. And, of course, Jason Green and all the folks at Family Fencing Studios, 540-200-8294. They have vinyl, aluminum, wood, chain link, residential, agricultural. Finance options are available, free quotes. Hit them up. Tell them you heard us talking about. Keep your comments coming in, whether it be on the text line or in the chat room. Good morning, Rodney. How are you? And we had a big weekend opening up. Of course, we've been talking a lot about tech and college football, but it was also a big high school football weekend. And we debuted this past week the Fourth and Goal show. Had quite a views of that. And joining me on the program now, he is the gentleman who's responsible for all that high school football knowledge. His name is Jermaine Ferrell. He's now here on Labor Day. Happy Labor Day, Jermaine. Thanks so much, man, for spending the holiday with us.
Well, I guess if you're laboring, I can labor too. So we all.
By the way, I watched your first Hardy's Friday Night Blitz, man. Loved it. You had so much coverage, and you guys are so good at that. It just felt like you were taking me to all those stadiums that I couldn't go to on Friday night. What'd you think of week one of high school football?
I tell you what, there was a lot of impressive games. I mean, obviously our game of the week was impressive with EC Glass and Salem, two teams that are really going to be a factor in Region 4D. And those two teams played a fantastic game and went down to the wire, and Glass pulled it out. And the thing is, you know, Salem and EC Glass, two great programs. And anytime you can get an opportunity to win a game at Salem State, you take it and run with it. And, you know, EC Glass, really two big plays throughout the game. It was an 80-yard touchdown and other plays, and that really helped them there. They had roughly a 2-touchdown advantage throughout, but in the end, it was a big win there. Other superlatives, Liberty breaking a 37-game losing streak, beating William Campbell 50-16. So now there's some momentum there. I mean, we mentioned, you know, the Liberty team. They said we're not that team that lost 37 straight games. I mean, the senior class finally winning a game. They were 0-30 at one stretch, 37 in a row.
Wow. And
for them to do that. A special night in Radford, obviously honoring Norm Lindenberg, the city council at Radford, naming it Norm Lindenberg Day, and Radford got the win there. Pretty good matchup between Carroll County and Christiansburg. Carroll County opened up, got a good win there, 35-21. So there was a lot of impressive games. I mean, Patrick Henry going down to North Carolina and shutting out Southern Alamance, 27-0. Glenver, as impressive as you could be, winning 70-0 over Galax. They did a pretty entertaining game down in Floyd, with Floyd County being there. It was 31-26. Blacksburg over Giles Big. So there was a lot of fun games, a lot of entertaining games, and, you know, Liberty Christian going up to Ohio and losing 42-3. And Ohio is they do some big time football up there. Lord Bontoc 2-0, winning 28-14. So a lot of good games. Jefferson Forest shutting out Gretna 43-0. So we had a lot of big time scoring there. A lot of teams putting a lot of points on the board. A lot of teams winning close games. So it was a fun weekend. Again, you want to get off to a good start. That's what a lot of teams did.
Yeah, Derek wants to give a shout out to Carroll County. Hadn't beaten Christiansburg since '93. So, congratulations to the Cavs there, Derek. That was a big win. Big win.
Yeah, north of 30 years. And then Verona comes into Roanoke and flexed their muscles against William Fleming, winning that one 41-14. I mean, Verona is littered with athletes that are going D1. They're the wide receiver. They go into a D1 game. And then North Cross, which was down early to Trinity Episcopal, they came back and lost by 8. So it was a good comeback there. And then another big thing is 2 officials. You know, at the Roanoke Catholic game, the officials had issues with officials. So they used the officials. Yeah, they didn't have officials. So they took the officials that did the North Cross game, and luckily they had them to go over and do the Roanoke Catholic game because the North Cross game was at 4. So the Roanoke Catholic game against Atlantic Shores Christian, they started that a little bit later, 7:30. And I'm the type of guy, if I don't see officials at a game around 6, I get a little worried.
I know. You're funny. I do the same thing at Radford. I know.
Yeah, if you're kicking off at 7 and you don't see officials by, say, at least they're usually there an hour before. So if they're not there, you probably need to call. And usually there's a scheduling thing, and it's just a shame that stuff happens. But officials, that happens. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, let's turn our attention to the college ranks, and obviously yesterday. We've gotten a lot of back and forth already. Tech defensively adjusted, offensively never could get it going. 24-11 over South Carolina, had some opportunities. The big play on special teams after they made the mistake, not having the gunner on the line of scrimmage, re-kick, it's going to the house, and then the great play action fake. But 2 big plays and things that Tech couldn't do. What was your assessment watching the Hokies?
Well, I think that from an offensive standpoint, and this is maybe the reason why I wish this is weird with college football, that they should get preseason games or
100%. Yes.
Other teams, because I think this is basically usually the first couple of games for college is almost like preseason games because you're trying to adjust because, it's weird. Like in all the other sports in college, you can do scrimmages, you can do exhibition games, but for some odd reason, college football, you don't get that opportunity. And I've never understood why. Maybe that's something there. But offensively, and usually a lot of times the defenses are always going to be ahead of the offenses. So that could be something there. But offensively, there were a few plays here and there. If you make them, you have a chance. I mean, the drop passes, the interceptions in plus territory, you can't have those. And in special teams, Beamer ball was on the other side of the ball because they definitely showed well with Shane Beamer. Yep. And the thing is that these are things, if you look at it, if you're a Virginia Tech fan, it's tough to lose a stinging loss. But there were things that you could take and say, well, we do these things, we might have a chance to win the game. And they better, get it because now you're on a short week. You got to get ready for Vanderbilt coming in on a Saturday night, the home game at Lane Stadium. And I think if you're a Virginia Tech fan, worst case scenario, your first 2 games, you want to be at least 1-1. But again, you can point if you coach Pryor, you can point at the film and say, hey, we do these things. This is the difference between winning a game and losing a game. And they really didn't do those things, and that's what they'll have to work on next, this coming week. Again, a short week, and it's tough to turn around. You're playing another SEC school in Vanderbilt.
Yeah, and to your point, Jermaine, I don't understand it. I've talked about it with coaches for a long time. I don't know why college football. You think about the money, they want to make money. Well, you know what? You would make a lot of money. If Virginia Tech was setting up a real game type of scrimmage or something like that, however you wanted it to look, against James Madison or Liberty or anybody like that, people would come. They could sell. You could make bank. And you're right. And that's why the games, we get so hyped up for the start of the season. And you very seldom, there weren't really any great games on this weekend. There were some good games, but nothing because you're right. It feels like the first preseason game we watch in the NFL a lot of times.
Yeah, and that's what's so tough is because they don't get the opportunity to really work on. There's only so much you can do with inter-squad scrimmages and practices. Think about it. At high school football, they do it. Have a scrimmage, and then you have a benefit game. It just, to me, it doesn't make sense. Again, you can scrimmage each other all you want, But maybe you schedule a game against, a D2 or FCS or something like that. They could get something there. You can work on some things. But I never understood why they don't do that. But, who am I to do? I mean, there's a lot of things in college athletics where we could probably spend a whole day talking about that. I don't understand. But that's not here nor there. But like I said, Tech. Again, there are some good things you could take out of the game. Again, bad things, and I think fans are frustrated. And the fact that the offense, there was a struggle on offense, and that's they bring in an offensive coordinator, and I think it's going to take time because, like I said, Philip Montgomery is a fantastic offensive guru. He knows offense. And I think it just takes time for offense, especially a new offense. It takes time. It's not like it's not like instant cream of wheat or oatmeal or whatever. You just throw it in the microwave with the water and all the good stuff, and boom, you're there. It takes time. So even you could have a spring, and then you can have the fall camp, but it takes time. But defensively, there's a lot of good things. Like there's a couple of breakdowns, obviously, in defense that caused a couple of plays here or there. But overall, I mean, they'll definitely have to work on it again. A short week, so they're really going to have to get after it.
Yeah, and Kyron Drones has to be better. I mean, he completed 43% of his passes. He missed a lot of wide open guys. They dropped some balls, I know, but 15 of 35 as a Division I quarterback is not going to get it done most Saturdays.
Yeah, and then I think obviously if you look at throughout all of college football, there were some impressive offensive performances. So I think that's the thing. Everybody's like, well, if everybody else is doing it, why can't we do it? So it's one of those things that you see it, and that's the thing. But I think, it's not really like doom and gloom or panic time in Blacksburg. I think, you have to look at it and say, hey, these are the things that we're going to work on. And like I said, that it just takes, and again, new coaching staff, new offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. You have a new line coach, and you have all these new coaches on the staff, and it takes time for everybody to gel. So I think they'll be working on it. They have a reference point with a game, and they can just take and work on it. Now, is the biggest thing, if you do the same things you did in game 1 that you did in game 2, then that's an area of concern if I'm Virginia Tech. Because if you go in there and you do the same things, then that's where I would be a little bit concerned. But I have a feeling that they're not going to do that. They're not going back to that. They're going to work on that. So I feel that will be the case, and they'll have a week to do it, and or shorter week. But they'll get everything back on track, I feel.
What you think about UVA? I mean, we figured they'd beat Coastal, but they spent a lot of money too. They got some good talent in the NIL, and 48-7. They look pretty good to me. I know it's Coastal first game, but big start for Tony Ellett. We'll see if they can build some momentum now in Charlottesville.
Well, that's what they had to do. I mean, and now again, they have a new quarterback in Morris who has a lot of experience. Of course, his dad was a tremendous coach as well. Yeah. But the offense looked so good. It looked crisp. It looked sharp. They really got after it against Coastal. I don't know. Are they Coastal or just Coastal Carolina? Because I see a lot of places they call them Coastal, but then their official government name is Coastal Carolina. So are they Coastal? Are they Coastal Carolina? I mean,
I think it's Coastal Carolina. I think it is. I think so.
Mama named him Clay. I'm gonna call him Clay because I was like, that's all everywhere. It's Coastal. I said, wait a minute. Did I miss a memo? Did they change their name or something like that?
No, I don't think so.
Did I miss a memo, Rick Watson? But yeah, I saw it. I was like, well, it must be Coastal. So I guess, yeah. But anyway, I mean, yeah, they look very impressive. I thought that they really look good out there. And it's really now, obviously, they have a big test coming up this Saturday. They go to NC State, which is, for everybody wants to know, it's a non-conference game. And people ask me, well, why is it a non-conference game? Well, it's a scheduling thing that you can schedule a team in your conference if you don't see them enough. You can always schedule them and do a non-conference. I will say that, again, there's a big argument. 9 conference games. The ACC said, well, it would be tough because we have an odd number of teams. But in my opinion, I don't see how hard it is to schedule non-conference.
I don't either.
Am I missing something too?
No. It's a lame excuse they tried to use. No.
And here's that, love the guys in the office at the ACC, but what is it?
No, I don't get that.
It's good. It's going to be kind of hard to do it. I say, well, I mean, Virginia's scheduled North Carolina State. And
right.
It's a non-conference game, but it's a conference.
Right.
It's a non-conference game, so why can't they do it? It's always like I think people build in excuses on why things can't get done.
They did.
They just build it in. Hey, we can't do it. But yeah, and it would make sense for Virginia Tech or Virginia and all the schools in the ACC to do non-conference games. You can do it. You can substitute Team A out for this. I mean, West Virginia and Alabama West Virginia and Alabama, they were going to do a 2-game series between each other starting next year, and that schedule got canceled. West Virginia and Alabama, they were supposed to play because I think obviously Alabama, they got to do the non-conference game, so you have to take that out. So you still keep that November game where you play a lower level team in the FCS or whatever, so you have that. So interesting.
What else stood out for you? Texas and Ohio State, maybe the need for that extra scrimmage showed. 14-7, both quarterbacks were, off a little bit. Arch Manning didn't look the part to me. He's got so much buildup going in. Most hype guy I've seen in a long time because of who he is. But what'd you think of that? And any other game that kind of really stood out? Florida State, that's huge, man. Thomas Castellanos looked pretty good, didn't he, in that new offense?
Florida State's back. They talked the talk and they walked the walk and they showed it. In fact, I think he's selling Nick Can't Save You shirts on his NIL deal.
Love it.
But yeah, it was a good win. I mean, obviously start off with the first game you mentioned Alabama and Florida State. Florida State, again, everybody looked at it and I don't know if it was really an upset because it's Florida State. It's not like Florida State didn't have athletes and players.
I know.
I think everybody looked at it and said, well, Florida State, they're down in Alabama. And now I'm sure people down in Tuscaloosa say, hey, what are we doing down here with Coach DeBoer? Because he's a good coach, but there's always an expectation in Tuscaloosa that they're going to be in the mix. And this isn't a loss that's going to knock them out of the championship playoff picture. But now you've already kind of used your mulligan, so now you're going to have to, really get after it. But, yeah, impressive by Florida State, and you might have to look at them as a favorite in the ACC. Clemson with a tough loss again offensively. Clemson, was shut out in the second half, but you kind of knew that was kind of going to be a rock fight because LSU and Clemson. I figured that would be that type of game, 17-10, a low-scoring game in Death Valley. So I guess, again, LSU was talking trash about Clemson and Death Valley. So they definitely proved it there. And they said, hey, we are the real Tigers. We're the real Death Valley.
Death Valley Light, they called it.
They called it Death Valley Junior.
Death Valley Junior.
Yeah, LSU's got over 100,000 fans at Tiger Stadium when they have their in Baton Rouge. And Clemson, I guess, only has, I say only, 80,000, but it's still 80,000. So, it's a tough one right then and there. And then, looking throughout the ACC, Syracuse, tough loss to Tennessee. Tennessee rolled them pretty big down in Atlanta in that first part of that doubleheader down there. Then you look at a Liberty. Liberty and Maine was kind of a close game. It was about early. Then Liberty opened it up in the second half, came back and got the win 28-7. In Lynchburg, so that was a good win for there. But circling back again, I leapfrog what you were talking about. The Ohio State Texas game, when it all boils down to is fourth and goal. Yeah, I didn't mean to say the show, but there you go.
They see what you do. Natural marketing.
Fourth and goal. There you go. Coming up this week on the Big Dog Sports.
That's right. Week 2, baby. Week 2.
But that was the difference of the game. Ohio State converted on theirs, and Texas didn't. And Arch Manning, he played a little better in the second half, but he kind of struggled. And again, I don't think Arch Manning was saying, hey, I'm the Heisman Trophy leader and touting his chest. That's not what the Mannings do. And obviously, they'll learn from this game and know what to do. I think maybe Steve Sarkisian maybe was putting the handcuffs on him a little bit on the offense.
Yeah, felt like a little bit.
Yeah, but I still think he felt comfortable enough. But that's a tough place to play. Your first game, you're going up to the Horseshoe. I mean, maybe if they could have scheduled a game again, maybe you schedule a game against a team not as strong as an Ohio State. But again, this isn't a loss that hurts you. I mean, I think Texas will still be in the mix for the national championship. But I think these are games that they're going to really have to look at and say, now, I do love the scheduling. I mean, this. I think we've had more big time games than we've ever had, early on. And then, Miami getting a win over Notre Dame last night. So it was a big one. So the ACC had some moments against non-conference teams. It's just they were just some tough losses. But probably if you'd have to say which ACC team, if you had to say, and I hate saying this, but if you had to say what ACC team really was kind of a disappointment, really two of them in a way, you might say probably Clemson and Virginia Tech, because you had I think they did it on the offensive side of the ball. I think if you're a fan, you say, okay, what was tough was the offenses for Clemson and Virginia Tech. And they both, again, faced tough competition. It's one thing to score a bunch of points against this team, but when you're stepping up in weight class on the teams you're playing, that's another different animal right then and there.
Before we let you go, I want to get just a sense on – it's a silly statement, I know, but we've been talking to people. You look at Tech's schedule. I know it's week 2, but it feels like, in a way, it's a season on the brink, just in terms of the fan and their relationship to this team, as frustrated as they've been in the Brent Pry era. If you do somehow lose a home game on a Saturday night, now we know Diego Pavia is a dynamic quarterback, and they have athletes. They're Vanderbilt, but they have athletes. Right. If they come in there on a Saturday night and Tech loses a one-score game, I'm not sure what that's going to do to the Tech fan base going forward. I know they have 2 games they should win after that with ODU and Wofford, and you got that big game against NC State. But is it overstepping to say the season's on the brink on Saturday night?
Yeah, but the thing is, we talk about this a lot. We talk about games, and we talk about teams and what they're going up against. And we've always said that you don't want to dig yourself into a hole. Now, in past years, like you remember the 95 Virginia Tech team, they started off 0-2, and they ended up rocking and rolling the scene there. They ended up winning like 10 in a row or 11 in a row, 9 in a row, 10 in a row, whatever. But I think, is it to a point where your season is over? Or are you saying to yourself, hey, our season is over if we lose this game? I don't think your season is over, but yeah, the heat is on. Like I said before, so you're going to have that.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because my wife is doing some stealth moves in Yolanda.
Is she trying to stay out of the way? Yeah.
No, if she was in a shot, it's a beauty. I mean, it's better to look at her on this monitor than me and you. We're like,
well, there's no question. There's no question.
That's the beauty, like that. Yolanda Ferrell's like the beauty. Like hey, if you need beauty, you need sex appeal, you need all that. Bring in Yolanda Ferrell.
Yolanda Ferrell.
I'm Jermaine Ferrell, and I approve of this message.
I approve of this message.
I will say that all the time, but yeah, she went stealth on me down there. I was like, okay.
Well,
okay.
that's okay. That's
okay.
She knows her husband's a broadcaster, so she's used to having to kind of.
Well, that's okay. I mean, she can. I think she's turning red over here. You can see her, even though you wouldn't. There you go. But the point is that I love her. In fact, we're getting ready to celebrate 10 years of marriage coming up on September the 13th. We got 2 hands.
Wow. Congratulations, man. That's not a small accomplishment nowadays. Congratulations.
10 years, baby. And we've known each other for a quarter of a century. So
all right.
Awesome. So
awesome.
We should have her on the show. Maybe we can get her on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to see her.
Just to celebrate 10 years of wedded bliss, and it's been awesome. But circling back, what you said about Tech, I don't think it's panic time, but yeah, there's going to be some Maalox moments. I think there are going to be fans that are frustrated. Again, you want this team to do well. I mean, I think college football is great when Virginia Tech is rocking the scene. And I think that's what
it's been too long. Yeah.
It's been too long now. Again, everybody's going to have their opinion. Everybody's going to say, hey, we need to do this and do that. But again, I think it takes time when you make changes to your staff, and you got to do that. And one other thing, I know you're going to have my man Jeremy Haymore.
Yeah.
Let me.
He's in the green room right now. We got him in the green room. Uh-oh.
Could you bring him up?
You got a surprise for Jeremy? Was that what we're doing here? Okay.
I gotta do something here.
Most exercise you've gotten in a month.
Look at that. Hey. Yeah, bring Jeremy up. I want to say something.
You want to say? Yeah, hang on. Let me find you. He's in there. Jeremy, get ready. We're going to put you on stage here, Jeremy. All right,
I just want to hold this up because this is a better look than. Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
There it is. You don't need to see my face to show the book.
Good morning.
And Jeremy, I want to say this to you. You sent me a digital copy. I loved it. I'm still halfway through. But anytime you can get someone to sign your book, and let me hold it. There it is. He signed it, put a bookmark in it. There you go. I mean, that's big time. And your book is getting so much
nice.
press. I mean, Marty Smith writing in it and endorsing it. You're a Marty McGee, and you're doing it, and it's the bandana right here in the bookmark. I mean, I want to give you a shout out. I mean, I've done a story with you, and finally everybody's starting to do stories. So thank goodness it's getting the pub it deserves. But let me tell you something. That's a good book. That's big time stuff. And you deserve so much praise. And Jeremy, I'm so proud of you, Coach, that you deserve this because you did a fantastic job on the book. So I want to give you a shout out from me personally. I love the book. And God bless you, brother, because you are making it happen. And you're on the tour. It seems like everywhere I say, hey,
he's on the book tour.
On the book tour. Marty McGee.
He's like Kramer from Seinfeld. He's on the book tour.
Yeah, it's like, okay, he did a little segment on WFXR, but now he's like, I don't know if he's going to return my calls. I know you get big time on me. So
No, I appreciate it. I really appreciate everything you've done to help promote the book and high school football in general. And I just enjoy talking with you every single time. I really appreciate it.
And the great thing is it is a love letter to high school football. And I think you get it's like when I read the book, when I read it, I felt like I was back in 1980. And back then I was only 6 years old. So I didn't realize the thing is, and I'm a historian. I love history, whether it's, sports history or anything. But I didn't realize that because when you're 6 years old, let's face facts, you don't really watch it the way you do now, being 51 versus 6. And when I read the book, I felt like I was back in 1980, like I was in Giles, like I was back there and I could just envision. And, the video circulated with Roy Stanley and the story he did on that game. And the crazy, like I talked to Coach Haymore, and I said, the opposing coach, Ed Scott, was my high school coach at Patrick Henry in 1990.
That's right.
Which is so crazy to think. So there's like 6 degrees of separation that there's a connection I kind of have to the game myself with Ed Scott. And he would talk about Alan Pinkett and when he coached us. And he talked about how fantastic that game was. And he scored all the points. I mean, Alan Pinkett, it was like Alan Pinkett 32, Giles 33. But Trevor, I got to ask you real quick, the research and time. I mean, since the book has come out, what's it been like to just get all the attention that you well deserve and to talk about the book and share your passion for this book and this project?
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I never really wrote the book for me or for the attention. I wrote it because of just my love for high school football and for the tradition of high school football in general. And I just thought that this story was an excellent representation of that tradition, the same kind of tradition that you see at plenty of other schools in the local area. But it's been really fun. The best part when I was researching it was getting to speak with all the former players and coaches and really the players from other teams as well. And I've heard from quite a few of them, since the book came out, and that's rewarding to hear that they enjoyed it and to feel like that I got it right because, they lived it. So, but one of the things I thought was interesting, and one of the things I tried to do was, even with Coach Ragsdale, is I wanted to research the book and get so many different perspectives and really just write the complete story that everybody who read it, including him, would learn something that they didn't know. And so there were things that the players told me that were, only went on amongst the players, and just and even for the Giles, talking with Alan Pinkett and Ed Scott, I was able to get some perspective from their side on what they saw that day, and even their play call names coming out of the huddle for the 2-point conversion, stuff that the Giles players wouldn't have known. So just tried to add to all that to kind of bring it, even for the people that lived it, make it even more exciting or more developed as a story.
It's funny when Rick did the interview with Marty and Coach Ragsdale, and even Mike Burnham chiming in on that. What was crazy, this might sound silly, when they were doing the interview, you know what I was thinking of? I was thinking about this. That's what I was thinking. I was it just stayed during the whole interview. I was just thinking Bandana Express.
Yeah.
And that was so crazy because they shared their stories, but it all went back to the book, because it's like we're there, and it's just emblazed in me that you did a tremendous job, Jeremy. So I'm a step away because this is your time to shine. I'm sorry I hijacked you, Rick.
No, hey, you're the high school guy. This is great. I love this.
But
this is what it's all about.
And I tell everybody right now, if you haven't got the book yet, please, you can get it. You can get it at Amazon. You can get Barnes and Noble, and I'm missing one other one. But those are the places to go.
There's plenty of sites you can get it on. And if you go into your local bookstore and they don't have it, ask for it. The distributor distributes to all these bookstores, so they can order it or ask for it to be on the shelves. It's on the shelves in a few bookstores. So, but yeah, it's available pretty much everywhere.
How many? Do you know offhand how many have been sold? Is that how many numbers?
I don't know yet. Past the pre-orders, it sold about 300, a little over 300 copies pre-order,
nice.
Which. To the average person doesn't sound like a lot, but it's really good according to my publisher for pre-order. Even books that come out and that are in every bookstore, in America, sometimes don't sell 1,000 copies. So you just, but so that's been really humbling to see how many people have had that interest before they even read a word, and trusted me with the story. Because to pre-order the book, you gotta trust that it's going to be something worthwhile to spend your money on. But I've had a lot of good feedback over the last month since it's been out, so I'm hoping that the sales numbers are good. But like I said, I didn't write the book to get rich and famous. I wrote it to really celebrate high school football in this area, how much it meant to me as a player and a coach, and just show it through the lens of one team, but make sure that, I really talked about all those teams that they played and brought all those communities to life as well, because they have wonderful stories just like this one.
Yeah. No pressure, but I would like you to write another book. If you could pick maybe find another state championship team that's kind of memorable. Maybe you could write another book on
whole series. Let's do a whole series.
No pressure. It'll probably take you some time. I mean, you're busy. You're an educator and all that, the coach, but you're busy, man. But no pressure. But if you want to write another book,
I've certainly the thought has crossed my mind. I don't know if my wife would necessarily like that too, because it does take a lot of time. And
that's fair. That's fair.
It's been great with it. I mean, it was a lot of times when I was on Marty McGee, they asked, when do you find time to write? Because, when I first started the research, we didn't have any children. And now I have a 13-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 9-year-old. So they've all come along and seen them. I like to tell them they weren't even alive when I started. But no, my wife has been great. She's always been very supportive. And, we raised the children. So it was, finding usually little tidbits of time here and there in the evenings and whatnot. But it was a lot of work to get it to the finish line, but I knew it was important. It had to be done. And, like I tried to tell my children, it's nothing easy. Nothing worthwhile comes easy. And high school football taught me that. And so I wanted it to be an example to them that, never quit, keep persevering, and I hope that I've done that. Before you go, Jermaine, I would like to mention a shout out of my own that I think you can second me on is, David Mabry has a great YouTube site, 3 Rings Football, who has a lot of these games, the 1980 games, but tons of games from the 60s and 70s. And I know you did a story on him and his restoration project. And I just think it's important to give him some attention, because I think it's really important what he's doing of saving a lot of these old reels and converting them to digital for everybody to be able to enjoy. But it is an expensive project, and he's paying for it out of his own pocket. So I know you did a project to help, or a story to try to help, bring to light what he was doing and show it. And so I wanted to do that while you were on here, because I know you could appreciate that.
And the thing is, what he's doing, it's interesting how projects become organic. Like, it just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
He found those reels of film that were just sitting somewhere. And then he said, okay, let's do something with it. And he has done a tremendous job. David Mabry, a longtime coach. He's coached, he's a state champion multiple times. And for him to take the film and convert it, and I'm sure there's a lot of schools out there. It's not just the Newer Valley schools, but throughout the whole area, there's probably film and videotape and all that out there of games that, maybe fans would like to look at and all that. So, hey, and a lot of them, the cooperation that he's gotten from these schools has been tremendous. So a great job. Yeah, great shout out. Yeah, no question.
Yeah, 100%. And even you mentioned the episode with Marty and Coach Ragsdale. Marty brought up seeing that film of this season. That's where he's seeing it, is on David Mabry's channel, Three Rings Football. So I wanted to make sure, to give him a little bit of a shout out there too.
Yeah, we're going to get him on here. We're going to get David on here and let him talk about. Yeah, I want to talk about that project. I love passion projects like that. It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Well, I tell you what, it looks like Mount Rushmore. All three of us up here at the shot, but I'm this is Jeremy Haymore's time. He deserves it. But I would be remiss if I didn't say anything. And I'm going to tell everybody right now, get the book.
Get it.
Get the book there. And there's look at all that pretty on the back of the book. Look at that, all that pretty.
Hey, I was sitting there. I was in that crowd.
There you go. You were somewhere there, weren't you?
Yeah. I was there, my dad and my brother. Absolutely.
I think Marty Smith, he said he was at the game too. So he was somewhere.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna read the back. I gotta read this just so everybody knows. Frank Beamer said, "The lessons learned and relationships forged on the dusty football fields of Southwest Virginia have sustained me for a lifetime. This true story will capture your heart, rally your soul, and reinforce what truly matters. The Bandana Express chronicles the coming of age of a high school football team near young coach Steve Ragsdale as he strives to follow in the footsteps of his legendary father in the Appalachian, depending on how you want to say it, mountains.
Appalachian. No, it's not. It's only one way to say it. No.
I know. I'm being sarcastic. Faced with a threat directed at his star player, Coach Ragsdale unites the school and rural community behind a symbol of hope, the boys' red bandana. With a colorful cast of memorable characters, the underdog Spartans employ grit and an old-fashioned offense to propel their improbable season toward an unforgettable finish, a nostalgic journey through sports and pop culture. The Bandana Express illustrates why high school football remains an enduring thread in the American fabric, reminiscent of the Friday Night Lights, the Junction Boys, the 12 Mighty Orphans. The true story of the 1980 Giles Spartans will captivate football diehards and casual fans alike. And real quick, Jeremy Haymore is an emerging author with roots in Southwest Virginia. He's a retired high school English teacher, football coach with a career on the gridiron spanning more than 2 decades. He is also a devoted freelance historian of the single wing offense and has presented on the system at several national coaching clinics. Jeremy holds a bachelor's of arts in English from Longwood University. He lives with his wife, Emily, and his 3 children, Eliza, Ben, and Nola, in Forest, Virginia. So I wanted to read the back of that so everybody knows.
Everybody get that?
Good on Mr. Haymore and his crew.
All right, Jermaine, I'll hook up with you for the 4th and Goal show, man. Appreciate you.
All right. And the thing is, you deserve it, Jeremy. Congratulations, brother. Take care.
I appreciate you.
Rick, you my man.
Yes, sir.
Got your Denver Broncos hat on, but we'll see.
New season. All right, brother. I'll talk to you here in a couple of days. We'll do 4th and Goal week 2. All right, man. There you go. Mm-hmm. Jermaine Ferrell from WFXR. There he is. He's been with us a little while, but official introduction, Jeremy Haymore, who has authored this unbelievable book, The Bandana Express. Congratulations, my friend. You deserve it. I don't have a copy yet. I got to get a copy. I don't have a signed copy.
I'll have to work on that.
But listen, what I want to talk about is this, because when you began, you realized you wanted to do this, and because of how you were affected by it as a coach and a player, and the research. Take us through the research, man, because the years and the planning, because the whole background of how this comes together, and you've turned out such a terrific log of that entire part of history here in this state, especially in the mountains of Parisburg. Talk about how that started and how that kind of progressed over, I know it was a lot of years, like a decade long worth of work? I know you've been working on this.
Yeah, it was about 15 years almost, start to finish, from the time I started to the actual publication date. But to take you back to about 2010, I was coaching and everything, teaching, but I was, looking for something, a little side project. I always like to kind of get into that type of thing. And, with an English background, I thought, maybe a book would be something cool to do. But, I didn't really think I had the clout to write a single wing book, which is, people talk about writing what you know. But I did have really a interest in the Giles program and their connection to the single wing. I'd even before that, when I first started teaching, I remember a guy who taught with me, who's now the athletic director at Stanton River, Neil Mustard. He went to Giles, and he was telling me, having played there, what it was like, and just he was the first one to really tell me the story of the Bandana and the 1980 championship. The lore that he had heard. Whether or not that would end up being the truth or not, but that was just the story that had kind of made it through. And he remembered being at the 1993 state championship game. He was pulled up and was in the locker room for that speech, and Coach Ragsdale mentioned those members of the 1980 team, and just how, just the hair standing up on your neck, as far as just hearing those legends that you'd heard about your whole life. And Marty talked about those guys being heroes to him. And so that was, that's where the book starts, is the prologue, is the pregame speech for the 1993 state championship game. Coach Ragsdale mentioned, some of those players. But I started, it was, I called Jeff Williams, who would, by then Coach Ragsdale retired, and Jeff was the coach. And I just asked him if anybody had documented that history in a book form, or done anything like this similar, and he said he thought it was a great idea. So he gave me a few numbers. He gave me Coach Ragsdale's number and a few others. And the first place I went was up to sit down with Coach Ragsdale. And as you saw on your show, he commands a room unlike any other. He does. Just a little side story. I remember after they won the state championship in 2005, and back then Tech would have their spring clinic, and they would have the state championship coaches would come and speak. And I was there as a young coach, just trying to take it all in, and all these coaches from various schools and the Tech staff, and they were all there, and they either had a microphone on or something like that, so everybody in the big room could hear. And Coach Ragsdale was the one person who didn't use a microphone, didn't need a microphone.
No.
But could command that room. I mean, there wasn't anybody in the hour that he spoke that got up to go to the bathroom or even blinked, I don't think. I mean, it was just enthralling. And he even told the story even then of some of the things that are in the book, some of the things that he mentioned on your show, of how it all got started, and just, so I think it was important to him, how the tradition began. There's a great quote in the book that he said to me, and I included, was, "You can't buy tradition. It has to happen, and
100%.
It has to be built organically." And so I think that was one of the things that he was proud of. You could hear it in his voice when he's talking on your show. I mean, I've heard him say at various functions that, one of the things he was most proud of in his career was the consistency that they had over the course of 30 years, and being able to have, only one losing season over a 30-year span, the consistency of their program. And that comes back to tradition, and that comes back to players too. But, that all comes in together. He was talking about on your show about getting the players out, and that's in the book, and really how he did it even more, in depth than what he said on here. I like to suggest to any coach, young coach especially, how do you build a program? I mean, this story is the story of one built from scratch. I mean, and a program that lasted. It wasn't just a flash in the pan. It was the tradition of the bandana. When you go up there to a game today and there's still bandana flags or people wearing bandanas, that it's something rich.
Yes. Yes.
Something lasting. And all the schools around here have those types of stories, but to get back to what you had asked me, I talked with him, and then, Jeff had a few numbers of some players. Jeff was actually a freshman and got pulled up from the JV that season. So he was there on the sideline. In fact, and he's in the book in a rather infamous way. He laughs about it now, but Parkview was up 18-0 and kicked off, and it was a line drive kick, kind of an inadvertent onside kick, and hit him in the face on the front line. He was in there. Coach put him in on the kickoff return team, and they recovered. And then of course they ended up stopping him there, and that was kind of the change in momentum. But it really started with just a couple of numbers, and I talked to those people, and they had a couple of numbers, and it just just kind of spread out from there. I mean, it was really cool how there were some people, they said, well, I haven't talked to that person in 30 years. I don't know where they would be, but as it went on out through the connections of people, somebody had a number. Some of them were just numbers of relatives, and I had to kind of call and be like, hey, I'm trying to track this person down. But overall, I was able to interview 34 members of the 1980 team.
Wow, that's impressive. Which
was almost all of them, all the starters, all 22 starters, all the coaches, principal, athletic director. I mean, pretty much the whole Giles program at that time. And I was able to interview 15 of the Parkview players and coaches, including Alan Pinkett, and interviewed at least the coach and one player or a couple players from each of the teams. There were a couple of coaches that had passed away by that time, but I'd interviewed some players to really get a picture. I think that's one of the things that I'm most proud of with it, is that, not just the Giles story and their program, but that was one of the things that took a while research-wise, was to dig into these other communities that they played, and not just give it, pass and lip service, but get into the Radfords and the Blacksburg programs and Christiansburg, and really, even on out to Perry McClure. They played Perry McClure that year.
That's right.
So really those and of course Naras is all in there, with the rivalry and everything. But, really, after I got the base story, I had to research, what I felt was important to research was, each of those locations. How did those local newspapers perceive that game? Who were they considered to be their key players? How did they perceive their, how did the players on those teams perceive their coach? And how, I remember asking some players from Perry McClure, Bobby Williams had passed away already, but I said, I got to paint a picture of this legendary figure in your community. How do you help me do that? Through words, somebody that's never met him. I'd never met him, never heard him talk or anything like that, And so that was what I did for each of those. So that was part of the time. I would say one of the things that did take a while, and I knew I kind of wanted to do this from the beginning. I don't think I really knew how deep the rabbit hole would go, was, I wanted to show the connection between Coach Ragsdale and his father, Harry Ragsdale.
Yes.
And, because some of the things he told me when I interviewed him, referenced his dad, or things he had learned from his dad, or things that he pulled from during that 1980 season that he had gotten from his dad. And so I was like, I want to, dive into that a little bit further. Well, to do that, I really needed to go through his whole career. So his career from 1930, when he first came to Nares, the football season, first football season was 1931, through his retirement in 1962. Wow. And nowadays, you can get a subscription to the Roanoke Times, and I can search keywords and pull everything up, in a matter of seconds. But when I was doing this research, that wasn't the case.
You couldn't do that, right?
So I had to go literally page by page in the Roanoke Times for, 30 plus years of his career, and just hope that I came across, articles about Narrows and Harry Ragsdale. But I did that because I think Steve, one of the things he said was, if you're going to talk about me, you need to talk about my father, because, that was where I learned everything,
Yeah. Right.
And,
right.
So I really wanted to show that connection. I felt like that was important to both communities, because even though there is that fierce rivalry, I describe it in the book as kind of like a backyard brawl amongst brothers,
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
So, I just, that's really what took so long between the newspaper research and interviews. And then, once I had all that, finding a way to weave it all together. We joked with Jermaine there about writing another book. I've got enough information to write another book. Between all the stuff that I researched, I could have wrote 2 books. So it was more about what to leave out than it was to put in, and then finding a way to just, weave it all together so that it reads in a cohesive narrative, so that it's not just boring, with stats and things like that, but flows nicely. So that took a while, but yeah, that's kind of the really the elaborate story there, I guess.
No, it's interesting. I love the journey. The journey of it is fascinating to me. Jeremy Haymore joining us on the program. He's written the book, Bandana Express. It's the true story of the 1980 Giles Spartans, a team that will live in the ages forever and ever. I wanted to touch on, you mentioned you talked to folks from Parkview, and I'm very interested to see, did you get a feel for how they were viewing coming to Southwest Virginia to play that game in the mountains of Harrisburg? Did they have a lot of respect? Did they come in thinking, hey, I was broadcasting the 92 Pulaski County State title game, right, when they went up and they took on Kenny Oxendine. And I remember the people, they were kind of making fun of the Cougar fans in the whole area. Oh, these guys, they're just down there in the Southwest. This is going to be easy. And next thing you know, Eric Webb's the best player, and Joel Hicks wins his first title with ease. What kind of vibe did you get from Parkview Sterling folks, how they were looking at Harrisburg and Giles and Leon King in the single wing?
Well, I think they were, very, looking back on it now, very respectful of the community support. They where they were from, up near DC, which at that time wasn't quite as developed as it is now, but
right.
They played on a community field that really, when they had to play in the playoffs that year, that it didn't even meet the standard to hold the playoff game. It had to be moved. So they didn't have that kind of home field feeling with the fans and stuff like Giles did. But I interviewed the coach, who was a young coach at the time, Pat Elliott, who came down to scout the week before when they played Jefferson Forest. And
right.
He said, he was just amazed at the support, and just he went back and told Ed Scott and told the team, look, you're going to see something that you're not used to seeing. I mean, it's going to be, if you're not prepared for it, can be, leave you kind of wide-eyed. And Alan Pinkett told me, he said that was the most red bandanas I'd ever seen in my life, and I don't care if I never see another one, just one of those types of things. But I thought it was interesting that Ed Scott tells the story that, they stayed in Christiansburg the night before, practice at Blacksburg High School. When they came over the mountain to Giles, right at the county line, there were just thousands of Giles fans lining the road, waiting on that bus to come through, welcome to Bandana Country, and just that pride. I mean, and it was kind of like even though they'd been prepared, they weren't quite ready for what they saw. I mean, and it was, I think Alan Pinkett said that, it was kind of awestruck. Some of the players were kind of awestruck by the community support.
Sure.
And just how feverish it was that day. There were, 10,000 fans there, which today would seem like a monstrous crowd. But I thought it was funny. He said, it did kind of leave some of our players awestruck, but my plan was to play in bigger stadiums one day, and we know now that he did, of course.
And he did.
So he said he knew he had to put on a show in that environment if that was something that he wanted to do. And of course he did. So as Coach Ragsdale mentioned, on his on with you, they didn't even really talk about Alan Pinkett going into the game.
No.
And it was kind of wild how the film kind of lied to him a little bit with the scout, and just the way that it played out with the semifinal game being on a wet field, and there were 9 fumbles in that game. So it was just a sloppy game that they ended up winning. So that was, he showed up, and it was unlike anything the Giles players had ever seen. They all told me it was like he was shot out of a cannon. They'd seen some fast players and some good players, but he was just on another level that day.
One thing you mentioned, you mentioned a minute ago, it was 18-0, right, until the kick. And so everybody was I remember, it's weird, you remember certain parts. I remember the crowd. You remember, though, people getting a little down. It was 18-0, and then the kick changed after the stop. Take us through that again with Coach Rags and what you learned the team. I mean, there had to be some doubt that started to creep in a little bit, right? Once they saw Alan Pinkett, and once they realized, these guys have come into our stadium and they're doing something to us that we're not used to seeing.
Oh yeah, and it was really great when I interviewed him, because he was kind of narrating his inner thoughts at the time, which was perfect for me, because this is what I want.
It's perfect. Yeah.
What was he thinking at the time? And he was kind of, he was very clear. He said, I'm thinking to myself, we're out of our league. We would not even be here. We're getting embarrassed. And just so I tried to transcribe those thoughts exactly as he gave them to me, because it was just in that moment, everything seemed to be going wrong. Just one thing after another. They'd thrown an interception. They had fumbles, more fumbles than they'd had, in all year long, basically. Just everything seemed to be going wrong, as those things tend to do when you get in an avalanche there. But no, he was just and some of the players mentioned the same thing, and just that it was just kind of a shell-shocked moment there for a little bit. And then, as you mentioned, they get the stop, get the ball down around their own goal line, and really they run the buck lateral and barely get out of the end zone. And, if it was a safety there, then that might have been a different into it too. But Coach said he was thinking, we can't go down 4 scores or it's over.
Yeah,
they're, and he's also, said he mentioned, thinking we got to do something, or it's going to be 60-0 out here, and this is embarrassing in front of this crowd and everything. But anyway, they completed a big pass. They got him some breathing room out from around the goal line, which, ironically enough, is the play that Ed Scott said he thought was the turning point in the game. Not necessarily the following play, but that play where they had him kind of pinned in around the goal line, and really it was, they had punted from, like, they were on Giles's 40-yard line. If you imagine, they recovered an onside kick around midfield. They got a few yards, didn't get the first down, but decided to punt. If they'd have ran Pinkett there, there's a lot of things when you're this is the game, you can say what could have happened, and what would have been, or this or that. But anyway, after that pass, Leon King broke off a 74-yard run, and it was just like momentum swung right there. That one play was, because that crowd and
oh my goodness,
the radio call was extraordinary. I got a copy of that, so I was able to listen to the whole game. But when he breaks that run, just the deafening roar, I mean, it is just amazing. Listening to it, kind of just the emotion you can feel in the stadium and the momentum swing. So yeah, that was quite the play and quite the drive there that got things going. But yeah, Coach Ragsdale, I mean, he didn't hold back with his thoughts about where he was at that time. It was just, man, we're out of our league. We're gonna get buried in this thing.
Right. We're joined by Jeremy Haymore. He's written the Bandana Express. Great book. I'm going to read it. I can't wait. I love the cover. It sounds simple, but the cover puts me back there. You did a great job selecting the cover sleeve of this thing. It's got Leon. They got the block. I love Coach Ray. I mean, the cover is perfect. It's subtle. I don't know. You did, I know, but people may look at that and not understand how important it is. And with the back, with what Jermaine showed with the crowd, it takes you right back to that day, the way the sunshine was piercing through, hiding how cold it was and all that. It brings it all back. And I just think that something like this it's a historical reference forever going forward. That's what you've created here, Jeremy. People are so excited, even outside of Giles and Parisburg, just to have this, and people who love high school football. And you encapsulated it a moment ago. You can talk about how great the athletes are in Northern Virginia, and they have more population. They have more folks to choose from. I know they got a lot of guys going to college, but the passion for this sport is how you move down into the southwest part. That's where it is. It becomes so much more community related, and you obviously bring that out so perfectly in the Bandana Express at that time, at that moment, and what that team in that state championship game meant and still means to this entire area, even outside of Parisburg.
Yeah, and that was what was really important to me, is to be able to show that, and like I said, to really shine a light on not just Giles but all of Southwest Virginia with this, to show really how great the football is down here, and I try to, within each of those games that they played, as I said, describe their coach or their community and some of the highlights of things that may have come before, with state championships that those coaches may have won or this or that. But I wanted to really kind of show how great all those teams were. I mean, you look at all the other coaches other than Coach Ragsdale. You had Coach Christ, Dave Christ at Blacksburg. Phil Robbins was at Christiansburg at the time. Bill Pattison was at Narrows. Norm Lindenberg, obviously, at Radford. You had Larry Bradley at Grundy. Bobby Williams at Perry McClure. I mean, the list goes on. I talk about Glenn Carlock.
Yes.
At Graham.
The G-Men. Yeah.
They open up, the first or the second chapter in the book is their scrimmage with Graham in 1978. So you get into some of the history of that and talking about Coach Carlock. And it's funny as a thought. I remember talking with Coach Beal, Winford Beal, he didn't come until the next year to Floyd. So he's, of course, a legend in his own right, but he was an assistant at Floyd, but he didn't become the head coach until the next year. And they didn't play Floyd in the 1980 season. They did in 78 and 79, but they didn't in 1980. Giles didn't play him in 1980. So I wish I'd have found a way to include him in that. But I remember when I was talking with him, he still gave me a great perspective on the time period when I interviewed him, and just, being an opposing coach of Coach Ragsdale and all these other guys. He was talking about Glenn Carlock, and he remembered him saying, something in reference to Labor Day, that they were going to practice on Labor Day. They were going to labor on Labor Day. And that was one of the things I remember him saying about Coach Carlock, just like a funny little quote that he mentioned that had stuck with him. But all those names alone, just thinking about all the games that's been that combination of coaches won. You got fields named after them. There's just the legend of each one of them, and as it goes out through the next several decades, really, and they were all kind of in that early part of their career. So I wanted to make sure to show all those coaches and where they had come from, and just how they kind of got started at each one of those schools. And so, but yeah, it was really to shine a light on and celebrate, high school football in Southwest Virginia and Appalachia. Not just Southwest Virginia, but all of Appalachia. These small towns, especially across Appalachia and really everywhere, I guess, in the country. But it just means something so much for them on Friday night, for everybody to come together. And, especially I think back then, we talked about, talked about that nostalgic view of looking back, just those fond memories of maybe a simpler time and everybody going to those games and just experiencing what it was like on Friday nights, those wars in the New River District And so I really wanted to bring that to life and give people a look at kind of life before, the technology of today and those types of things, and kind of a simpler time when it was just the purity of the game.
Purity. That's a good word to use. But Jeremy, listen, I'm excited as heck for you, man. Congratulations. Where to next? Let people know where you're going to be next promoting the book, and again, how they can find it, because hey, it's out there, man. Go find it.
You can get it and on Amazon or any of the major retailers online. You can go into virtually any bookstore and ask for it. If they're not carrying it, they can certainly get it for you. So it's available pretty much everywhere. And so, yeah, I'm hoping to have some future events coming up in the New River Valley to be able to get out specifically up towards the Giles area. I haven't been able to do that yet. I was kind of waiting on it to get everything to get kicked off. And of course, Giles High School has got a lot of construction and things like that going on here at the beginning of school. So, I was kind of waiting to kind of let them get past that and schedule something up that way. But I really like to have something up there where I could have some of those 1980s players come and just, Coach Ragsdale come. I'd love to be able to have him to do something like that and just, just get together and reminisce and because like I said, that was really the thing that meant the most to me, was hearing their stories and connecting and meeting those people and just, yeah, it's, that's kind of where I'm going from here. I try to stay active with promotion. I do stuff online, and try to promote as much as I can. But it's really the word of mouth now that the people that have read it, I think, is
absolutely
is helping it, because one thing I talk with my publisher is they talk about you can market all you want, but you got to have a good story. You got to have a good book. It's got to be something that people, once they read, that they would recommend to somebody else. So, but before I go, I did want to recognize as well one other shout out. I think that Coach Ragsdale's influence on coaches around here, I know it influenced me. I coached at the last 6 years at Stanton River. We ran the single wing and went to the state championship in 2016. Lost to Blacksburg, of course, of all teams. But there's a lot of other coaches out there that have kind of come from his tree. Bridgeport, West Virginia is a great example. They won a AAA state championship this past year. They run the Giles Princeton version of the single wing exactly the way that Coach Ragsdale did, and Jeff after him, and so on and so forth. And one other, I got a T-shirt here. It's a little hard to see, but
what you got?
T-shirt here. That's the
Craig County.
Craig County, yep.
The Rockets.
County, they are running the single wing this year, and down at the bottom it says "Fear the Wing." But Jake Dowdy, who played at Giles, is there coaching.
Nice.
And Jimmy Fisher's the head coach, and I've tried to help them a little bit, but they don't need my help. They're doing an excellent job. They should have a good ball team. They won this week this past week 48-0 over Montcalm, and so. That was, I think that's important to point out some of those things, because that's really Coach Ragsdale's influence right there, coming all the way down to Craig County running a single wing this year. And I know there's lots of other schools all across that have picked up, things from coaches from that era that just are still, withstanding to this day.
Well, I love the success of Craig County. I always follow them and appreciate, because it's the same thing. I grew up Pulaski, and I now live in Reiner. So, and as well as anybody, they haven't had football the last 2 years. They didn't have numbers. And Craig County went through that number of years ago. So it's great to see them now building back up. I hear it's a healthy program now. You're saying you beat somebody like Montcalm 48-0. That's a good start. I mean, that's a good program traditionally. So I really appreciate those. They withstood the tide a little bit with numbers, and now here they are. You got people dedicated. Those are the great stories, man. That's what high school football is all about, right there, Craig County.
And that's why I want to make sure I mention them, and because I know that's when you talk about all this era of NIL and everything, and the purity of the game is down in these little high schools.
It is
still doing things right, and that's what does my heart good to hear those stories. And like I said, I felt like John Gruden when he sent me a T-shirt but I really appreciate it. I follow them every week as I do several other teams and stuff. So, and Jermaine is great with the coverage that he does to make that possible, really.
Well, listen, Jeremy, thank you so much, man. We'll have you hop on again here soon, and give our best to everybody in Craig County. Tell them to find us here on YouTube and like and subscribe. That's all we want.
I will definitely.
Well, man,
I appreciate you having me on, Rick.
No, anytime. It's great. I love just sitting here and listening to you tell the story. That's so fascinating to me. And congratulations, man. I know it was a labor of love, and you put a lot of time in. You had support from your wife and your family, and now here you are reaping the benefits. Just enjoy it, man. You've earned it, and everybody go pick up your copy, even if you're not necessarily connected to Giles' program. You heard Coach Ragsdale on the show last week. His influence, as Jeremy's talking about, it represents not only Pearisburg, but it's also all of Southwest Virginia. And what many of the folks who are watching this program right now went through, and what we still hold, to our hearts, is what we learned from our coaches. It stays with you forever. And that 1980 team is going to stay with this area forever. It's never going to go away.
Absolutely.
Congratulations, Jeremy. Thanks so much, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, there you go. Jeremy Haymore. Great stuff. And it's a great book, and I can't wait to. I'm looking forward to it. That's going to be a fast read, man. That's going to be one of those you start, and you're going to be like, yeah, I'm going to just not do that until I'm done with this chapter. The Bandana Express, the true story of the 1980 Giles Spartans. Go pick it up. Go get it. Go get it. You will not regret it. Great stuff all the way around. Tomorrow on the program, we still got a little bit of time. Yeah, we got about 20 minutes. We're good. Tomorrow, we're going to talk to Mike Burnip about everything that happened on Saturday or on Sunday yesterday for Tech. We talked about that. We covered, the college football week and the good parts and the bad parts. It ends tonight, and I'm very intrigued. I'm probably more intrigued than I thought I was going to be. Bill Belichick, I doubt they say anything about his girlfriend. I'm sure they've been probably told just to leave all that alone. But I am interested to see from a coaching perspective how it all felt like, to a lot of people, it was a gimmick, but I really don't think that it is. It feels like, to me, what we're seeing now out of, what's going on with North Carolina football is a guy who kind of knew that he still wanted to coach a little bit. And he felt like maybe the NFL stuff was done. He was trying to be a commentator. He was trying to be on the Monday Night Football, Manning cast, and so forth. But I think he realized he still had such a real passion for coaching. And for me, North Carolina, had so much of a brand in your favor. You've got so much of a marketing advantage, and you haven't been able to take advantage of it. Mac Brown did not come back and get the job done. Even with a generational quarterback, Drake May. So you go out and you get Bill Belichick. Look at the publicity that it's gotten them. Look at the money they've raised for NIL and the whole program because he's there. And now you're on full display tonight. TCU comes in, they're favored. And let's see how it all adjusts. And Bill Belichick, and I think rightfully so, has been criticized a bit. He didn't win after Tom Brady had left. That wasn't a good football team for most years after Tom Brady left. And I don't know at all. It feels like maybe he kind of maybe believes that too. So he wanted another opportunity to go out and try to reinvent himself a little bit as a coach. He's such a football historian. I think the most times you see him passionate about anything is when he's just talking about his library of books and coaches that he learned from. Those are great interviews. You ever see him talk about that? So I'm intrigued tonight. That's 8 o'clock. I hate that it's not starting at 7. I hate that it's 8. Don't understand that. It's 8 o'clock. ESPN will have it. Why is it 8 on a Monday? Anyway, 8 o'clock. And we'll see how it unfolds. And we'll see how it looks. It appears when you watch some of the practice clips that, it's just him being like he's always been. But I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by it. What are your thoughts about Virginia Tech's start to their season? We'd like to hear from you. as we broadcast live here from our family fencing studios here in Reiner. Give them a call, 540-200-8294, familyfencingnrv.com. They have a no-dig installation system. They don't tear up your yard, locally owned here in the New River Valley. They have finance options and free quotes are available. They are terrific, as are all the folks at McClellan Chiropractic, Mark Hundley and his crew. When you're ever in the chat room, well, it's sponsored by McClellan Chiropractic. You go over there and you got a back issue and you need to be aligned. You don't have to get popped anymore. He was showing me all the updated equipment. It's incredible. They just put you on this machine and it just does all this. And then eventually you feel the pops and you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's really cool. Really cool. But anyway, check them out because the technology is amazing to me. Just amazing to me. Very, very excited to learn all that. Very excited to be presented by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Can't wait to dive in head first. What's going on? Speaking of community, nobody has it more entrenched than Jonathan Sweet and Tim and his crew and what they're trying to refurbish everything Pulaski County through recreation, through their parks, through sports. So it fits in perfectly to our format here on the new program on YouTube. And Little River Heating and Air, Charles Lee and Company, 1095 Radford Street in Christiansburg. Make sure your heat units are working. When you're waking up and it's 48 degrees, as it was today here, 49 degrees, you might be done with the air. Trust Little River. They will take care of you. And thanks to National Bank member FDIC, the exclusive banking partner of BDST here on YouTube. I've been with them about 30, 35 years. They've been my exclusive bank. Never have thought of leaving. Great people. And you have a great builder of that company, Brad DiNardo, leaving. And I couldn't think of a better person coming in as the new CEO and president, Lara Ramsey. She's earned it. And she's going to just take it to different heights. There's no question. So thank you to those folks for jumping on board with us here. Hit us up in the chat room, anything that you want to talk about. Rodney Young says, Rick, when was the last time a team in high school had minus 58 yards rushing and won? Is that what happened? So Radford against George Wythe had minus 58 yards. Well, they have, I'm guessing they had sacks, right? That add up to that. And I've always hated that, right? It had to be some sacks. Doesn't it feel like you're punishing the running game a little bit when you have quarterback sacks that add up into negative rushing? I get it. I know, I guess technically that formula works, but it's kind of I don't know. Anyway, I get it. So minus 58 yards, and they still won the game. That defense is pretty good, huh, for Radford? That defense is pretty sharp from what people tell me. Hey, it's Carl Mecklenburg's birthday today for the Broncos. Old number 77. One of my all-time favorite Broncos. Yeah, good stuff. How you feeling about Tech this week against Vanderbilt? We talked about it with Jermaine. I'll bring it up tomorrow with Mike Burnham. How is this season on the brink? I mean, is it crazy to say that early? I don't think so. Only because fans are going to be very easily put back into the mindset they've had the last, 5-6 years. You fall back into it when you're having winning habits and you expect it, you fall back into that pretty well. And then you go the other way, right? When things continue to snowball against you and you start losing. And if you lose that game, I just think fans are already down about this one a little bit. And then you lose that game. If you lose it on Saturday at home, I don't know if you get the crowd back, or the fans back. David says, looking at my hat, he thought it meant Big Dog. No, it's the old Denver. It's not old. It's they did this a couple years ago, kind of like a alternate sideline hat. It's got the old D logo on the back here, the one that I like so much. That era right there from that guy, Randy Gradishaw. But yeah, it's a Denver Broncos hat. Thank you, though, David. All right, how did I do in my picks? All right, let's go back to Friday. We'll see. Georgia Tech, by the way, I left that one out in the recap. Big win for Georgia Tech. Ramblin' Wreck got it done. I tell you what, Haynes King, that dude is a player, man. I love watching Haynes King. If he'd have played Tech last year, it may have been a different story. That kid is impressive. Georgia Tech had them. They won the game. App State at Charlotte. App State blew out Charlotte. Thought they would beat it and win that game, and they did. Auburn and Baylor was an interesting contest as well. Now, I had both underlined here. I feel like I picked Baylor. I feel like I missed that one. I don't know why I underlined both. Ohio State, I had Ohio State over Texas. I had Tennessee. I did have Alabama, so I missed that. I had UVA, had Utah beating UCLA. They did. Kentucky beating Toledo, Tulane winning, California winning. I did have Clemson, so I missed the Clemson game. Missed the two big ACC games. I missed the Virginia Tech game. Missed Notre Dame, Miami. So is that four losses? 11-4, 11-5, something like that. So not terrible for week one. Not terrible. And speaking of the Vanderbilt game, as I mentioned earlier, don't forget this week we're going to have Louise Baker pop on. She, of course, responsible for bringing Mike Burnip onto the show every week. And she's got a pair of tickets in a good section for Saturday night. All right. So we're going to have some kind of trivia that Louise is going to come up with, just like we used to do on the old show. And because of her generosity, whoever wins the tickets, you go see her at her office. She'll have her tickets. We'll talk much more about that. So I love it. So, yes, Louise, we will get into that. I think that's Wednesday or Thursday we're going to do it. Yeah, has not been announced as a sellout, no. Had some people on the text line asking me that. It is not announced as a sellout as of yet. So, yeah. So there you go. There's my picks, and that's what we did. Fan question of the week. I think that's going to be our it's going to be our fan question of the week, brought to you by the attorney Ryan Pry. 540-838-2233. PryLawOffice.com. Let's just say this. Let's just put it out there. It's a simple question. You can have reasoning. Send it to me on the text line, or you can send it to me here. You can DM me, whatever you want to do. A lot of people do that. There's the text line, 540-391-0788. Is this game this Saturday night, is this a season on the brink? You can say yes or no, or you can give I'd like for you to give a little bit of reasoning so we can read it. That's our BDST fan question of the week. Where Virginia Tech, the way they lost yesterday, the manner in which they lost, coming home against Vanderbilt, they're going to be heavy favorites. Team they couldn't solve last year, made a lot of mistakes, still should have won the game, collapsed defensively. Don't think you're going to have that defense collapse the way it did under Chris Marv. It looked pretty good after the first drive yesterday. They got better and better. So Diego Pavia is going to have a little different look that he's going to have to deal with on Saturday night. But is it season on the brink for Tech? I mean, is that being too dramatic? I don't think so. I think it is. We'll see. We'll see what people say. Must wins. I know there's a lot of must wins that sometimes it gets a little overdone, and I get that. But at the same time, I think people are pretty darn honest about the way things go. I think people are really, really honest about how things, shape up and so forth. And so from my standpoint, yeah, I think that it is a must win. A lot of people won't agree, but I do think it's a must win. And we'll see how it all plays out. Make sure that you go through and watch the videos and like and subscribe. I don't know what everybody's going to do with their Labor Day. I know a lot of people probably slept in. And my whole reasoning about, for the Tech thing is if they go 0-2, you go 0-2 against the SEC, season on the brink can mean a lot of things. Sure, they could still rally after that and win 7 games. But I don't know if the crowd's going to come back the way – this is going to cause a lot more noise is what I'm saying if they lose Saturday night at home. A lot of noise. And none of it will be good. And there's already so much pressure on Brent Pry, and there's so much pressure on with Babcock. It's just going to continue to tighten the fist, man. You're going to get 2 wins after that with ODU and Wofford. So ridiculous now in retrospect, looking at how that schedule was put together and why you thought that the rising costs and why you thought that would be anything to help your program. Right? Wofford and ODU back-to-back. What is that doing for your base? Yeah. Anyway, the NC State game on the road, the next big one. You got Wake at home. You should win that one. So you got a legitimate chance to reel off 5 in a row. And then if you're 5-1, nobody's really going to remember much about that game on Sunday. Not as much anyway. But if you lose, and depending on how you look at it when you lose, it probably be a 1-score game if they lose it. Then all that talk's going to come back too. All that noise about Brent Pry not being able to win close games. So I think it just snowballs. That's why I think it's kind of season on the brink for a lot of reasons. It's a trigger game early, even though it's the second game. I mean, it's a little different for Clemson and LSU just because they'll get a lot of respect. Both of those teams, win or lose, you're going to get a lot of respect. Tech's going to have some respect right now for playing South Carolina just because they're from the SEC. Just the way that it is. But then if you lose that next game, it takes away a lot of that. Clemson will get it back. They'll still be heavily favored to win the ACC and go to the playoff. Kind of the same thing last night, Notre Dame. Notre Dame's still going to be okay. They only play one ranked team, at least currently ranked team right now. They end up playing more teams that are ranked. But right now, one more ranked team on their schedule. That's it, Texas A&M. Young quarterback will get better. They still rallied in the fourth quarter and had a chance. They couldn't keep Miami out of field goal range, and kid made a long field goal with a minute to go. But it was a good football game, but Notre Dame will be okay. Miami needed that win, right? And that's going to pick up Miami now for a little bit. They needed that going forward. If Miami loses that game, all the hype they were doing, bring it back, and all the former players, Jimmy Johnson, they lose that game. I don't know if they come back. So I just think that losing on Saturday would just be detrimental in a lot of ways. And I don't know do you have any more sellouts this year if you lose that game? Looking at other elements too. And from a fan's perspective, they're just like, enough's enough. I mentioned all week leading up to the game, can you have a bad loss and feel a certain way about it? And if it looks good. Well, only one part looked good, and that was obviously what was going on with the defense after the first drive. You lose that game, you don't score a touchdown. You have the same mistakes when you say, hey, we didn't have a gunner at the line of scrimmage. Year 4, we're still having some kind of mistake. So my take is that Tech fans going to be throaty. They're going to be loud. They're going to try to will them through. The crowd's going to be great. The atmosphere is going to be awesome on Saturday night. Tech fans never just going to throw in the towel, but at the same time, they have to have something that makes them believe that things can get turned around. And there were some steps in that direction, I think, yesterday. I agree with that. But those steps that you took in the right direction, let's say it blows up the other way on Saturday, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if you get that back. I think at home on a Saturday night, there's an expectation, even with all the lack of overall success the last 5 or 6 years, that you're going to win that football game. So I think people are apt to feel that way. But we'll see. We'll see. Please go in, by the way, and it's very important that you watch the videos and you like and subscribe. Remind people that it's free to subscribe. We're doing really well on our numbers in terms of views and viewing minutes. It's been great. Thank you so much. And I know I've had a lot of people say they've created a YouTube account just to follow the show, and that means a lot. But we need a lot more of that, I guess because it's Labor Day weekend, I should get my report. I didn't get it last night. Probably get it tonight or tomorrow from the guy who's in charge of keeping an eye on the show. And I know the numbers have been really good, the metrics overall. But much like Steve Ragsdale in 1980 in Giles football, we can do this, right? From our area show originating here in Southwest Virginia, we can make it into something bigger and beyond. And I need your help. Need your help. Spread the word. Appreciate everybody who has subscribed. It means a lot. And please get it out there to people. It's easy. It's very easy. Just go in, hit subscribe. I'm going to be passing around little things here that have a QR code in the show, and just drop it off at our businesses and so forth that are sponsoring the show. Just grab one and click. We don't bother you. You don't get – all you get is like a 5-second reminder that the show's starting. Or if we upload another show like the Fourth and Goal show or Sports and More with myself and David Smith, it's coming up. I mean, you just get – that's it. You don't get bothered. It's not like it's going to, be something to intrude. And, YouTube is the way that it's going. It's got the long-term deal done with Fox, which we told you they would do. They're going to be prominent a long time. NFL's banking on YouTube. Sunday Ticket's not going to go off of YouTube for a while. And here I am a part of it, finding my way. But I want to bring everybody with me. And I need your help. Need your help. Keep the show moving in the right direction and find people that will just hit that subscribe button and like what we're doing. But we're off to a good start. We're entering week 4, which is hard for me to believe. This is officially episode 16, I guess. But it's been great. I want to thank our guests today. It's good stuff from Jermaine Ferrell and Jeremy Haymore. That was a lot of fun. And we appreciate them jumping on and being part. Great to hear that story. Just the stories, right there from Jeremy. I love to hear all the talk of high school football and the stories behind it. You just sit there and just listen to that stuff all day. I could anyway. I could just listen to that all day long. But thanks to all of our guests for joining us here on the program today. And thank you for spending part of your Labor Day morning with us. Hope everybody has the day off. You can kind of chill out, chillax, and get ready for the game tonight. Finish up the first full weekend of college football. Then we'll dive into week 2. We know Marvin Miami will be with us tomorrow. Mike Burnup, maybe some other things that kind of jump around in between. But that'll be our program tomorrow. We'll review the whole thing with Mike, get his thoughts. He was there. He was on the call with Bill. And we'll see what he thinks about the game coming up this Saturday as well, and how is it one of those deals where you look at it as saying, you know what, if you don't win it, what could happen? I'm just saying, how quickly the negative noise, it's a lot easier for the negativity to build and to start encompassing every aspect of a program if things go off the rails early, as opposed to getting a lot of positivity and so forth. So there's a lot that can be avoided if they get off to a better start and win that game on Saturday. But thanks for watching, everybody. Enjoy your day. If you missed it, go back and watch. And we're getting a lot of walk-up views. It's awesome. People going up and watching later. Thank you so much for that. The shows are up. And, it's a great benefit for all of our sponsors, too. I remind them, look, that stays up forever. People can go back and find it. You get the same mentions over and over and over again to a new audience. It's great. So it's a great type of thing to be a sponsor of this program. But everybody stay safe. Thank you so much to our guests again. We'll see you tomorrow on the Tuesday edition. And enjoy the rest of your Monday, everybody. Take care. Thanks for watching. We'll see you.